In the silence of this long and lonely night, when your prayers feel heavy in your chest, when the road ahead is wrapped in shadow, and your weary soul can find no rest, when the tears fall slow like quiet rain, and the world feels colder than before, when your faith is trembling in the darkness, and you're not sure what you're fighting for. But even here inside this broken moment, where your heart feels scattered in the storm, there is a hand you cannot see yet, holding you and keeping you warm. You may not hear his voice tonight, you may not see the open door, but God is moving through the darkness, just like he has done before. God is working even when you feel lost, even when the night is long, even when your faith feels fragile and your strength is almost gone. God is working in the hidden places where your eyes cannot yet see. Through the pain and through the waiting, he is writing your story gently. You may walk through valleys of confusion, where your heart feels torn apart, but the God who shaped the mountains is still healing your broken heart. When the silence feels like an answer, and heaven seems so far away, when your hopes feel bruised and fragile, and tomorrow looks like yesterday, when the weight of life is overwhelming and your soul feels tired and worn, when you wonder if your prayers are rising through the darkness of the storm, remember feel lost, even when the road is unclear, even when the night feels endless, and your heart is filled with fear. God is working through the silence, through the tears you cannot hide. Even when your faith is trembling, He is walking by your side. So rest your soul in gentle mercy. Let His quiet love unfold. For the God who walks beside you is still writing your story in gold. Even when you feel forgotten, even when the road is crossed, never doubt the hand of heaven. God is working. When the night feels deeper than the ocean, and your heart is drifting far from shore, when the silence feels like empty answers, and you don't know what you're searching for, when the road you walk feels unfamiliar, and the stars refuse to show the way, when the questions echo through your spirit, at the ending of a weary day. There is mercy moving through the shadow. There is grace that never walks away. Even when your eyes are filled with sorrow, God is closer than your fear today. You may not feel the hands that hold you, you may not see the light ahead, but heaven's love is slowly working through the tears you've quietly shed. He is guiding you through the dark tonight, through the silence and the pain, through the storm that shakes your spirit, through the sorrow and the rain. He is guiding every fragile step, even when you feel alone. For the God who formed the heavens has not left you on your own. Though the night may seem unending and your strength feels almost gone, there is mercy in the darkness, your soul begins to wonder if the Lord has passed you by, remember every cry is counted, every wound is known above, and the path you cannot understand yet is still covered in His love. Even in the quiet suffering, even in the unseen fight, God is writing hidden miracles. In the middle of your night, you may feel the weight of sorrow, you may stumble on the way, but the God who walks beside you will not leave your heart astray. He is guiding you through the dark tonight, through the valleys deep and wide. Even when your faith is trembling, He is walking by your side. He is guiding through the silence, through the doubts that fill your soul. For the God who holds tomorrow is the one who makes you whole. So lay your fears before His mercy, let your restless heart grow still. For the God who calms the oceans is the God who always will. Even when the path is hidden, even when the night is long, He is guiding you through darkness, and His love is leading on. When the night is quiet and your heart is heavy and the silence fills the room, when the prayers you whispered feel unanswered, like they vanished in the gloom, when the road ahead feels lost in shadows and your hope begins to fade, when your soul is tired from the battle and the price of faith feels paid, there is one who sees the hidden sorrows, every tear that gently falls, every whisper of a wounded spirit, every time your fragile heart calls. You may feel alone in the darkness, like no one hears your cry, but heaven's love is closer than the stars within the sky. God has not forgotten your tears tonight, every sorrow that you hide, every prayer you softly whisper, every moment that you cry. God is holding every broken memory, every scar within your soul, and the love that formed the heavens is the love that makes you whole. creation still surrounds you with His love. Even in the quiet suffering, even in the hidden pain, God is writing gentle healing through your sorrow and your rain. You may feel the world is breaking, you may feel your strength depart, but the hands that shape the heavens are still holding your heart. God has not forgotten your tears tonight, every sorrow that you feel, for the grace that flows from heaven is the grace that comes to heal. Even when the night is darkest, even when the road is steep, God is walking through the shadows, guarding every tear you weep. So lay your burdens down in mercy, let your restless heart find peace, for the God who knows your sorrow is the God who brings release. Even when your faith is fragile, even when your hope appears small, God remembers every tear that falls. When the night grows quiet around your sorrow, and the world feels distant and cold, when the prayers you whisper feel unanswered, and your fragile heart feels old, when the road you walk seems never ending, and your strength begins to fade, when the shadows gather in your spirit and your courage feels afraid, still there's mercy moving through the silence, still there's love you cannot see, for the God who shaped the endless heavens is still walking next to thee. You may not hear His voice tonight, you may not feel His hand, but heaven's grace is gently working just beyond what you understand. Even in the silence, God is near, closer than your deepest pain, closer than the tears you're hiding, closer than the falling rain. Even when your faith feels fragile and your soul begins to fear, God is moving through the darkness, and His mercy draws you near. Though the road feels long and lonely, and your strength feels almost gone, God is walking through the silence, and His love is leading on. When the answers feel like distant echoes, and the sky feels far away, when the doubts begin to whisper softly at the ending of your day, when the weight upon the storm within your spirit starts to take its quiet toll, remember every breath you're breathing is a gift of grace above. For the God who holds tomorrow still surrounds you with His love. Even when the night is deepest, even when the road is steep, God is guarding every promise. God is watching while you weep. You may feel the world is breaking, you may feel your strength depart, but the hands that shape creation are still holding your heart. Even in the silence, God is near. Through the shadows and the pain, through the quiet unseen battles, through the sorrow and the rain. Even when your faith is trembling and your soul is filled with fear, God is moving through the silence, and His love is always near. So rest your weary heart in mercy, let His gentle grace appear. For the God who walks beside you is the God who's always near. Even in the silence, even in the fear, God is near. When the weight upon your shoulder feels heavier than your soul can bear, when the road behind is filled with sorrow and the future feels unfair, when your prayers feel slow and fragile like whispers in the wind, and your heart begins to wonder where the light has always been, when the nights grow long with questions and the silence fills the air, there is one who sees your struggle, there is one who's always there. You don't have to walk this valley with the weight upon your own, for the God who formed the mountains is still guarding every stone. Lay your burden in His hands tonight, let His mercy hold your pain, let the grace that flows from heaven wash away the deepest rain. Lay your sorrow at His altar, let His gentle love restore. For the God who knows your story has walked this road before. Even when the night surrounds you, even when your strength feels small, God is waiting with compassion to receive it all. When the storm inside your spirit feels strong that you're fighting all alone, and the road beneath your footsteps feels like broken stone. Remember, every cry is heard, every tear is seen above, for the God who walks beside you is a God of endless love. You don't need to hide your weakness, you don't need to wear the pain. God is strong inside your brokenness, God is mercy in the rain. You may feel the night is endless, you may feel your courage fall, but the hands that shape creation are still holding on. Lay your burden in His hands tonight. Let His peace begin to rise. Let the quiet hope of heaven bring new light into your eyes. Lay your sorrow down in mercy, let His healing love unfold, for the God who walks beside you turns your broken into gold. So breathe within His presence, let your restless spirit stand, for the God who calms the oceans is holding your life within His hands. Within His hands. When your heart feels tired from the waiting, and your soul longs to be free, when the tears you hide in silent prayer fall slowly in the dark, and the questions echo through your spirit like shadows in your heart. You may feel the world has lost its meaning, like the light has gone away, but the God who shaped the rise and sunrise is still guiding you today. Even when your faith feels fragile, even when your strength is thin, God is quietly working miracles deep within. God is writing hope in your pain tonight, in the tears that fall unseen, in the silent prayers you whisper, in the places in between. God is writing healing in your story, through the sorrow you have known, for the hands that form the heavens still hold you as His own. Though the night may feel confusing, the shadows deep within. Remember, every tear has meaning, every wound a sacred word. For the God who shaped the galaxies still walks this fragile earth. Even in the broken moments, even in the unseen fight, God is planting seeds of mercy in the soil of your night. You may feel your strength is fading, you may feel your courage fall, but the God who calms the oceans is still Lord above it all. God is writing hope in your pain tonight. Through the sorrow and the rain, through the quiet unseen battles, through the healing in your pain, even when the road feels lonely, even when your faith feels small, God is writing grace and mercy through it all. So rest your soul inside His promise, let His quiet love remain. For the God who holds tomorrow is writing hope inside your pain. When the winds of life grow stronger and your heart begins to shake, when the waves of fear surround you and your faith begins to break, when the sky above looks restless and the path beneath feels thin, when the storm inside your spirit feels impossible to win, there is one who walks the waters, there is one who calms the sea, and the God who rules the heavens still walks beside thee. You may feel the storm is endless, you may fear the night is long, but the hands that shape creation are the hands that make you strong. God is holding you in the storm tonight, through the thunder and the rain, through the tears that fall in silence, through the hidden pain. God is holding every fragile moment, every trembling prayer you say, for the love that calms the oceans the thunder shakes your courage and the lightning fills your mind, when the doubts begin to whisper, leaving quiet fear behind, when the road feels cold and empty and your hope feels far away, when the burden of tomorrow feels too heavy for today. Remember, every storm will pass,
every night will fade to light,
for the God who rules the heavens
guards your fragile,
still guards your fragile life, still guards your fragile life. Even when the waves are rising,
even when your faith feels small,
God is stronger than the darkness.
God is greater than it all.
You may feel your heart is breaking, you may feel your strength depart, but the hands that calm the waters are still holding your heart. God is holding you in the storm tonight, through the thunder and the fear, through the battles of your spirit. God is always near, even when the winds are raging,
Even when the night is warm,
God is standing in the tempest, holding you through the storm. So breathe within His mercy,
in His mercy,
let your trembling spirit rest,
for the God who calms the
for the
ocean,
God who calms the ocean.
knows your heart the best.
Even when the storm surrounds you, even when your hope feels warm,
He's holding
God is holding you through the storm. When the night surrounds your spirit and the silence feels too loud, when the doubts begin to whisper like a gathering dark cloud, when your heart feels lost and fragile like a ship without a shore, when the strength you once believed in doesn't feel the same anymore, when the road ahead looks empty and your courage starts to fade, there is one who walks beside you through the valley of the shade. You may feel the fear is stronger, you may feel the night is near, but the love that formed the heavens is already standing here. God is closer than your fear tonight, closer than the rising storm, closer than the doubts that haunt you, closer than the pain you've borne. God is closer than the shadows, closer than the fallen tears, for the hands that shape creation are the hands that calm your fears. Even when the night surrounds you, even when the road is unclear, never doubt the quiet mercy. God is closer than your fear. When the weight of every memory presses heavy on your soul, when the scars of hidden battles quietly begin to show, when the voice of fear grows louder and your faith feels far away, when the light you once believed in seems to slowly fade to gray, remember every breath you breathe in is a promise from above. For the God who guards your future still surrounds you with His love. Even in the quiet trembling, even in the unseen war, God is riding gentle mercy, like He's done so many times before. You may feel the storm is rising, you may feel your courage fall, but the God who holds the heavens still holds it all. God is closer than your fear tonight,
Closer than your rain.
through the darkness and the rain,
Darkness and the rain.
through the silent hidden battles,
Silent hidden battle.
through the sorrow and the pain,
Even when the pain.
even when the road feels fragile,
The road feels fragile.
even when the night appears,
Not here.
God is walking through the shadow,
Walking through the shadow.
closer than your fears. So rest your heart inside His mercy, let His quiet peace appear. For the God who calms the oceans is closer than your fear. When the night begins to soften and the silence grows more kind, when the storms that shook your spirit start to slowly leave your mind, when the tears you carry quietly fall gently to the floor, and the pain that once surrounded you doesn't feel as strong as before. There is healing in the stillness, there is mercy in the air, for the God who walks beside you has been listening to your prayer. You may not have seen the before your weary eyes. God is quietly restoring your soul tonight, through the silence and the peace, through the gentle hand of mercy that will never cease. God is healing every hidden wound, every scar that time has known. For the love that formed the heavens still calls you his own. Even when the night felt endless, even when the road was long, God was writing quiet mercy all along. When your heart begins to breathe again, after seasons filled with pain, the quiet hope of morning starts to fall like gentle rain. When the doubts that once surrounded you slowly lose their voice, and the fragile light of healing whispers softly of new choice. Remember every broken moment, every tear that touched the ground was a seed of hidden mercy, where God's grace would soon be found. Even in the deepest darkness, even in the silent fight, God was working in the shadows, bringing healing through the night. You may not have seen his hands there, you may not have known the way, but the God who holds tomorrow never left you yesterday. God is quietly restoring your soul tonight, through the sorrow and the grace, through the quiet unseen healing, taking sorrow's place. Even when your heart was breaking, even when your faith felt small, God was gently writing mercy through it all. So rest within his presence, let your weary spirit know When the night begins to fade in silence, and the stars grow soft above, when the road behind feels distant, like a story written in love, when the storms that shook your spirit slowly drift beyond the sea, and the weight you once were carrying finally sets your heart free. There is peace beyond the sorrow. There is light beyond the pain. For the God who walks beside you never lets your tears remain. Every step you walked in darkness, every prayer you softly prayed, was a path of quiet mercy that His gentle hands have made. God will lead you home through the night, through the shadows and the rain, through the valleys of confusion, through the seasons filled with pain. You with His mercy, with a love that never dies, for the hands that shape the heavens are the hands that guide your life. Seemed gone, God was walking there beside you. Oh, alone. When the quiet light of morning starts to touch your weary soul, when the wounds that once were bleeding begin slowly to feel whole, when the doubts that fill your spirit lose their voice within your heart, and the fragile hope of heaven begins softly to restart. Remember every broken moment touched the ground was the soil where seeds of mercy quietly were found. Even in the unseen battles, even in the silent cries, God was writing gentle healing in the story of your life. You may not have seen the moment when the darkness lost its hold, but the God who walks beside you turns your broken into gold. God will lead you home through the night, through the sorrow and the grace, through the quiet unseen miracles that time cannot erase. Even when your faith was fragile, even when your hope seemed gone, God was gently guiding mercy all along. So rest your heart inside His promise.